Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Well, let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story was a suggestion on Twitter from Jess, so thank you very much, Jess. And it's a story from the True Off My Chest subreddit. It's one of those titles that made me go like, what the fuck? It was posted only a couple of days ago, so there's no update on it as such as yet, but it's from OKHeart7923 and says, my brother-in-law called me the one who got away in his speech, and my husband is very hurt, and it is all my fault. I don't know what to do. I think I have done serious damage to my marriage before it even began. I met my husband through his brother, Chris, who I had a crush on in college. I never was clingy or never acted on my feelings, and I never really showed myself to get too close to him because I knew that my feelings weren't reciprocated. Chris knew, however, I had a crush on him, or at least he felt it. He would always say that I was girlfriend material and how he wouldn't want to lead me on. He wanted to have fun before that. He would say this to others, but even once to me. On 2 occasions, he would text me that he had feelings for me, only to apologize later and retract his words, but on Christmas 4 years ago, he texted me that he was in love with me and wanted to take me out on a date. He said he was done playing around and wanted a relationship. He was invited to a New Year's Eve party that my then roommate and I had. He told me he wanted to talk to me then. When he came to the party, he had his brother with him. Chris spent the party going out of his way to ignore me, and later I saw him making out with my roommate, and they spent the night in her room. I decided there and then that I will drop it. Enough is enough. Next morning, he told me that he fucked up. I fucked up big time, yeah? And he apologized. During the party, I got to know his brother, who was the opposite of Chris. He was shy and hated attention, and he was just the best. And soon after, he asked me on a date. We are married now. Our wedding was last Wednesday. I want to make 2 things clear. I never went beyond a crush on Chris, and only after I fell for my husband that I understood what love is. He's everything to me, and I love him more than anything. I never told anyone about my crush, and when I met my husband, I didn't tell him either. Chris wasn't happy I was seeing his brother, and he was cold towards me since, even when it got serious between my husband and I. Chris held a speech on our rehearsal dinner, and he basically outed everything and ended with how he regretted not asking me out sooner, and he will always regret it. It was very awkward afterwards and nobody talked, and on our wedding day my husband did everything to act normal, and he made sure everything was planned, but I could feel that he was hurt and angry. After the party, he asked me if I loved Chris and if I dated him for that reason. I started crying because it's absolutely not true. We started dating and became friends, and I made sure it was him I wanted before committing, and I never loved anyone like I love my husband. I told him all this and more, and I apologized so much for not telling him everything. In the beginning, I thought it was my own private matter, and I didn't feel the need to discuss it with a then stranger to me. When our relationship evolved, I just never thought Chris was relevant, and my crush seemed a silly thing. Now it's back to bite me in the ass. My husband is very sad and barely talks to me. We're leaving for our honeymoon in 2 weeks. He barely speaks about it. The thing we both waited for with so much anticipation and longing. I don't know what to do. I can't turn back time, so I don't know what to do. Now, we covered a story a few days ago about someone who liked keeping the OP on the hook, basically liked the attention that they was getting. And it very much sounds like Chris in this situation. He enjoyed you liking him, he enjoyed you pining after him, but he just, in general, sounds like an absolute awful person. To say all that stuff, a rehearsal dinner outing, but how he's going to regret it, just screams awful person to me. He knows the consequences of that. He knows he's going to cause damage. He hurt you, he hurt his brother, and he's caused these insecurities within your brother now. And now his anger and hurt is being redirected towards you, which is not right. And I think there's only really one way to go about this. I would seriously consider cutting that Chris out of your life immediately, but also talking to your husband and speaking very matter-of-factly about this. And yes, I had a crush on him, and you're not even sure if it was that anymore because you've discovered what you feel true love is now that you're with your husband. What a prick Chris is, Jesus. Independent Shame says, some people's family leaves me dumbfounded. I think your husband will be fine eventually, but I don't think he'll be fine with you spending time with his brother anytime soon, if ever. What a shit dude to do that to his own brother and his wife. I'm sorry you got that as a brother-in-law. Opie says, to be honest, I never spend time with Chris, not without my husband anyway. As I said, Chris was probably not happy about our relationship and has been cold towards me since. We never discussed it. He never confronted me or mentioned it to me or my husband. Stin replies to OP and says, this screams misery loves miserable company. You were not the one who got away. Chris was too busy sowing his wild oats. Now Chris cannot have you, so he planted seeds of doubt with your husband, so he couldn't have you either. Try to get at least one marriage counseling session in before your honeymoon. Good luck. Opie says this is depressing but probably true. What I can't understand is why now? Why not earlier before his brother makes a commitment? Because he never cared about his brother. Okay, sure, but like no replies to that and says, I can tell you exactly why. Because he's a narcissist. He likes lording your past feelings over his brother because it gives him validation. In Chris's mind, he wins because you had a crush on him first. It's also why he fucked your roommates knowing you expected him to ask you out at that party. He loved that you chased him and he fucked your roommate to show himself that he could do whatever he wanted and you would still want him. When you didn't do that, he got mad and held a grudge. Did Chris bully your husband growing up? Take things from him? Sleep with his girlfriends? Anything like that? Because you describe traits in him that make him seem like an egomaniac or a sociopath. And I wouldn't be surprised if he fucked over your husband so often growing up that your husband developed an inferiority complex, which is contributing to his trust issues now. Maybe the best thing you and your husband can do is go to couples therapy to reveal the extent of the damage done. There could be a lot of baggage contributing to this that you just don't know about, and you not telling him about your crush might have just been the straw that broke the camel's back here. Smiley Canadian says Chris is vile. 1. He never respected you. 2. He never loved you. 3. He only loved the attention you gave him. 4. He enjoyed hurting you repeatedly. 5. He's insecure and jealous. 6. He purposely ruined your relationship. 7. He purposely hurt both you and his brother. 8. He only cares about himself. Going forward, cut Chris from your lives. He's a terrible human and has made it clear he won't ever change. I hope your husband believes you and you go on your honeymoon. Give your husband some time to process this. I bet Chris repeatedly hurt and bullied his brother growing up. Your husband will need therapy. His brother will try to twist things, and a therapist could help your husband see through his lies. Also, show your husband this post. You have got to be some kind of arsehole to stand up at a rehearsal dinner and say that kind of stuff, haven't you? I really hope that OP does get through to their husband, their love for them, and how much Chris doesn't mean to her anymore, because, come on. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What would you do in it if you was OP? Let us know your thoughts, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. Does come with an update from Spirited Willow 3110 and says, Am I the arsehole for not letting my sister walk down the aisle at my wedding? Throwaway because family members have read it. I, 29 female, and getting married to the love of my life, 30 male in a few months. We were high school lovers and childhood friends. He's truly my best friend and everything I want in life. However, we both decided to wait until we were well off to be married, so we could have our once-in-a-lifetime magical moment. My sister, Stacy, 21 female, got married at 19 to someone who I like, but I'm not super close with. They were together for 5 months before we proposed. The wedding was rushed and half of our family couldn't make it because of how soon it was planned and set up. It was small and just a courtroom, no dress, party, etc., just a legal wedding. However, my wedding is around 19k and we haven't even finished everything. It took us ages to set everything up and save. Stacy recently came up to me while coming over. We're close and have dinner once a week at my place and asked if she could walk down my aisle and meet her husband so she could feel like a bride. I laughed and asked if she was serious, and she was. She claims she never got her magic moment and just wants to feel special once. But it's my wedding and my special day. She had hers. Stacy claims it will only be between us and it won't take away from me. But then I asked what she might wear and she showed me pictures on her phone of wedding dresses. Hard no for me. She then asked again yesterday in front of my fiance. I think it was an attempt to pressure me. He laughed and said no, thinking it was a joke, like I did the first time. My mother and Stacy's husband say I'm being an asshole because Stacy still isn't rich, so she can't afford another wedding even if she wanted one. But neither are me and my future husband. We just planned for years. I just wanted one day for myself, but maybe I'm blowing it up because she never got the bridal experience. I really do wish there was a way to see into people's heads when they're asking questions like this. I mean, what build-up is there to this? You ask your sister to walk down the aisle, I don't know, behind her, or however this is going to happen, to meet her husband in a wedding dress as well. What does she think everyone else is going to think of this? I really can't see the audience thinking this is like a sweet moment. They're going to be thinking, what the fuck's going on here? Is this a double wedding? But Pot says, not the arsehole, there is no conceivable universe where her walking down the aisle on your wedding day at the location of your wedding wearing a wedding dress will be just between the two of you and not detract from your day. It's rude of her to even ask. Edit to add, if she wants a special moment, she's free to plan her own vow renewal event where she wears a wedding dress and has all her family, etc. OP says, if she was just going to wear a nice dress and walk before me and stand beside me and her husband, I would probably have no problem with it. Or at least let her do it, but I feel like she's just trying to use my wedding as a free event for her. Awoken Queen says, not the arsehole. I see stuff like this on the sub, and I'm shocked that people have the audacity to even ask stuff like this. Doesn't matter if she's your sister and her moment wasn't what she had hoped for. If you allow this, then your moment will be different than you imagined it to be too. Your sister and her husband made their choices. They could have waited, but they didn't. OP says, I asked her when she accepted his proposal if she was sure it was a good idea, since it seemed really rushed, but her response was that since my boyfriend proposed a few weeks earlier, she wanted to get hers over with and tie the knot, so I would be able to have my wedding in the fall, like I always dreamed, and hers wouldn't overlap. Dull Zucchini says, not the arsehole. I'm just wondering how she is envisioning this situation in her head without it being a confusing spectacle. If they want to continue to make a big deal out of this, you certainly can consider rescinding their invitations too. No need to have her try something at your wedding and disrupt the ceremony. Plus your fiancé said no, it's his day too. OP says, I doubt I'll take away their invites. She is my sister after all, but I'm just worried she might try and pull something like walking in with the wedding dress anyways, or saying something rude about me during the speeches. Now I understand when people say, it's my sister or it's my brother or whatever, but family kind of thing. I understand it to a point, but if you're at the point now where you're worried she might try to pull something like walking in a wedding dress or saying something rude about you during the speeches, it gives me a lot more information about what she might have been like in the past. And that's really concerning, but Comfortable Sweater says, not the arsehole. You will, however, be the arsehole to yourself and your future husband if you allow this to continue. Shut this shit down and quick. Please tell both your mother and sister and brother-in-law that if they continue to push this, they are uninvited to the wedding. Harsh, I know, but if you don't set this boundary now, they will take over the rest of your wedding and make it about them. The fact that the question was even asked is grossly inappropriate, and I'm sorry you're having to deal with this, OP. I truly hope everything works out for you. So OP does update the post, and they said, hello everyone. I just wanted to post an update on the situation with my sister Stacy. I'm not sure how to add links to my old post, but I will try to find out. The day after I made the post, me, my fiancée Stacy, and her husband met up for brunch. I told her she needed to hear me out fully before she spoke, and thankfully she did. In short, I told her as much as I love her, I've waited years for this day, and it was mine. She had hers, and if she truly wanted, she could have used the money I gifted her to get her own wedding. Her husband had cut me off and say that they needed the money for rent, but she didn't let him talk. I showed her the Reddit post, and she started crying, and asked her husband and my fiancé to step out for a few minutes. They both did, and she told me her husband and our mum had been the ones pressuring her, since she had admittedly been jealous, and told them both she wished she could have a larger scale wedding. She said she'd been over the whole thing until her husband started saying it wasn't fair because he was jealous he couldn't provide for her, and eventually complained enough she asked to walk down the aisle for him. Stacy said she was willing to fully back out of the wedding and would understand given the heartache she's given me. But I told her her husband would be the one without an invite, which she gratefully agreed to. We talked more in depth on why she was jealous, and she said she regretted being married so early, just so our father could be at her wedding. After a few more minutes and both of us crying and forgiving one another, I told her she could always tell me anything, even if it was between her and her husband. When my fiancée and her husband came back in, I told Stacy's husband he was uninvited, right then and there. And he seemed to understand why immediately, though he did groan about it and called me multiple times, but I blocked him again. Over the past few days, my mother has called to apologize, and me and Stacy have been talking much more openly and honestly to one another. I decided to let her wear a dark silver or pale gold dress to match my theme and walk in with me down the aisle, as my father sadly can't. She told me I didn't need to, but I insisted. We ended up finding a dress we both love, and I got it as a gift for her. Thank you for all the support and kind words. That's a pretty sweet ending towards the two sisters, but I can't help but feel concerned about that brother-in-law and the way he's acted so far, that he feels jealous that he can't provide for her and he's the one that's been causing this pressure. And it just kind of made me feel like, and I may be overstepping here, that everything is not as happy as it should be for that couple. But how do you feel about this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's have another story, shall we? Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Wonderful Winter 976 and says, am I the arsehole for telling everyone exactly why I allowed at my cousin's wedding? I, 20 female, have a cousin, 23 female, who just got married to her boyfriend of about 2 years, 21 male. He proposed to her about 4 months ago and they had their wedding 3 days ago. One thing about me and her husband, we dated in high school for about 2 years. We broke up on good terms, we just didn't feel in love with each other anymore and stayed good friends, and then in college my cousin saw him at a party, and then started going out a few months later. I was fine with them being together as I have no romantic feelings for him anymore. My cousin found out him and I dated in high school because one of our mutual friends was making a joke about how he was moving through our family. I didn't tell her because we weren't that close. I thought she might be a little shocked but get over it. Oh man, I was wrong. Then 2 days before the wedding, I asked her what time it's on. She just looked at me and said, "Oh, sorry girl, you're not coming." Of course I asked her why. She just answered, "Look, you put me through enough hurt knowing you're in love with my man. Just be a good cousin for once and stop trying to steal him. If I don't want you at the wedding because you've had an intimate relationship with my future husband, just respect that." I felt so hurt because I spent lots of unpaid time helping her and I spent my own money on her wedding, and now she won't even let me go. I got pissed and left. Then I sent a text to her saying I want my money back. She said no. I said if she doesn't give me my money back right now, then I'm telling everyone I'm not able to go to her wedding. Keep in mind, I spent hundreds of dollars on her wedding. She still said no, I'm not giving it back. You can tell them I don't care. So I did. I was pissed and hurt she would do that to me. At this point, there is 1 day until the wedding, and I posted on Instagram. I let my cousin date my ex-boyfriend. Tomorrow is their wedding and I'm not allowed to go because I was with him first. With a little skull emoji. She saw that along with loads of other people from my family. They knew it was about her. The family was super mad with her as she came crying to my apartment calling me a no good beeping snake. She told me that because I was such an arsehole, people were dropping out of the wedding. I didn't mean for that to happen. Am I the arsehole? Okay, I got comments about this that made me realize my storytelling is crap, so here you go. 1. Letting them date. Okay, I don't mean it like that. I don't believe I own him. It's just that I wanted to try and make that I did seem justified, but not that was wrong of me. 2. Family dropping out. Just found out only my parents and siblings left. 3. A boyfriend jumping from family members being an arsehole move. He didn't know we were cousins until we met at a family party, and I said it was fine when he asked. If you have questions, feel free to ask. And we'll start off with Hidden Thinks, who says not the arsehole. If she doesn't want to invite you to her wedding, that's her prerogative. However, it's a fucking arsehole move to also not return your money after you spent time and money helping her. She deserved what she got. Disney Addict says everyone sucks here, but I approve of your level of petty. Wasn't a fan of the wording, I let my cousin date, which OP clarified, but the whole thing got your point across. Apra asks, info, what do you mean I spent hundreds of dollars on her wedding? What on? OP says, I have to pay for the venue they are having it on, which is like at least 7k. I didn't pay it all, but I paid at least 300, and on bridesmaids dresses, flower girls, and everyone pitched in for her wedding dress, so that's at least 600, which I was fine with until she said I'm not allowed to come. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, if you have a moment of your time to share, of course. And just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today, listening to a story or two, getting involved in the channel, and just sharing your love, not just towards me, but towards one another down in the comments, as always. I just find it absolutely incredible. You're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Much love.